Hey everybody, it's Lawrence Presman, puck time. It's Monday, the first round or whatever you call it is in the bag. 16 teams left. We're going to take apart the series for the next round. Myself, Andrew McGinnis, and Dave Koken. Carmine Bianco didn't join us. And well, I want to start by congratulating Andrew and his Habs. They beat Pittsburgh. And they looked good doing it. They got scoring when it counted. They got great goaltending. And unlike the Toronto Maple Leafs, they have some kind of leadership. Shea Weber. That guy doesn't age, Andrew.
Yeah, the Habs did what they had to do. I'm not saying it was pretty, but they did what they had to do in order to move forwards. Played good defensive hockey. Carey Price, I'm not going to deny, he's unbelievable. But like you said, they got scoring when they needed to. But realistically, like you mentioned off the top, that wasn't even really the playoffs. This is the playoffs now, so we'll see what happens now.
That is for sure. And yeah, Brian Watson, Matt Carpenter, they're all waiting for me. They just want to kick a man when he's down. Well, you know what? I'm not down. I'm thrilled the Leafs lost. To hell with them. I got better things to do in the month of August than sit around and watch hockey all the time. It's very liberating, Andrew. That's how I feel. Dave, how did you do this weekend?
I had a horrible day yesterday. Absolutely terrible. Worst day I've had in. I had one really bad day in KBO early on, and it's been really great the last month or so. But yesterday was 0-3, all baseball, and and I wasn't close at any of the games. Horrible day. So, but the hockey's been good so far, and 8-4-1 as we head into the next round, and hopefully we'll continue to succeed there, and I'll get back on track at baseball. It's just a one-day glitch.
I see mid-major Matt tuning into the show said, enjoy your short time in the playoffs, Andrew, because they're going up against his Flyers. So look forward to talking with him on the baseball show, getting some jabs in about the Flyers.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, there's a lot to discuss in that series because...
Yeah. I actually think the matchup, I think it's a good matchup for Montreal, and we'll get to that. But yeah, Matt, dude, I don't know what to say about the Leafs. I mean, the bottom line is this team has just been built all wrong. 3 of the 4 largest salaries go on the same team. Austin Matthews played great. Morgan Riley had brain cramp after brain cramp. John Tavares was just snake bitten, and the rest of the team, I mean, there's no gritty leadership on this team. There's no... Foligno, the dude can't score. He can barely skate, and yet he is just a pure leader.
You guys overrate this team every year, okay?
Of course we do, Dave. We live in
overrate them every year. They were a middle-of-the-pack team. I said at the beginning of the season they're a middle-of-the-pack team, and that's what they are. They're a middle-of-the-pack team. Their talent is completely overrated.
Absolutely,
they're just not that good.
Yeah, Dave. Of course we overrated. You cannot understand the frustration. There is. I put this up on Twitter.
What are you talking about? I grew up a Red Sox fan.
Yeah. So Boston, Dave. I understand Detroit Lion fans, Red Sox fans, Cleveland Indian fans for many, many years, Chicago Cubs fans for 100 years. I get all that.
Fans always overrate their teams.
The only difference is that Toronto has produced more NHL hockey players than any city in the world. Ontario has produced the 5 biggest cities for producing hockey players come out of my state. And yet, all of our hockey players win Stanley Cups every single year and never for Toronto. Let's get to it. We're going to start with Calgary and Dallas, minus 110 here. Andrew, I'll let you set this up and give us your thoughts, and then we'll jump in and hear from Dave Koken.
The Dallas series, yeah. Well, the first thing I guess we can mention, which we're going to be talking about with a lot of the games, is how these teams ended up here. Because, of course, we had the 24 team playoff format, which is, completely changing the way we look at things. Because, first of all, one team has momentum. One team has already won a series. It doesn't count as an actual playoff series, but it's a qualifying series. And it's going to be a question of all of the guys that we have on this show and anybody out there that's in the comment section, how much do we take into account what we saw in those qualifying tournaments and what we saw in the seeding games? Because Dallas didn't look very good in their seeding. A lot of teams didn't look very good in their seeding tournaments, but the round robin. But to me, that doesn't actually matter. You look at a Calgary Flames team. I was wrong. Most of you guys were right. You guys all liked Calgary. I'm completely comfortable admitting that. The problem was they still went up against a shaky defense and a team missing pretty much their two best scorers, Patrick Laine and Mark Scheifele. So now you're going up against a team that has a backbone of defense, big guys on D. You got Khudobin and Bishop in net. So if Bishop isn't ready to go, Khudobin is there, and he's really good as well. And then you've got a veteran team. You've got guys like Ben, Sagan, Pavelski that are just hungry to win a cup. And I think it's just what are you really looking for more? The fact that this team, Calgary, is already rolling here and has some momentum, or the fact that Dallas right now is an experienced veteran-based team that has way better goaltending and defense? Because that's kind of how I look. I like Dallas. I mean, I drafted a lot of my playoff pool in fantasy around them because I thought they would actually go deep here. To me, I kind of describe them as the New York Islanders of the Western Conference. They're going to get two goals and possibly win a game doing so. Just playing that protective style of hockey once they get a goal. And I think it's important to keep in mind the disciplinary factor of the NHL right now, because I think it's about time we stop talking about how these guys are just getting back into playing. However, Dallas is just getting back into playing, a real series. This is their first real playoff series. Calgary took a lot of penalties, and so did Winnipeg. But Winnipeg didn't make Calgary pay, and Calgary made Winnipeg pay. And if Calgary starts getting undisciplined against Dallas, they're really going to make them pay. So I like Dallas here. I'm not saying it'll be easy, but I like Dallas to win this game, possibly 6 games.
Dave, I'm going to pass on this series. I did go 2-1 in my series bets released at WagerTalk. And you were 8-4-1 in the last round. I went 9-5, so pretty close. This is it's an interesting series because I think it's going to be low scoring, and it's like in those type of environments, I think we're going to see a bunch of overtimes, a bunch of 3-2, 2-1 games, and then it literally comes down to who's going to score that game winner. And I'm not going to bet on who's going to score game-winning goals. I can't come up with a thing, but this should be an exciting, gritty hockey series. Where are you going?
Well, I don't make any series bets. I don't like making series bets because then I'm locked into stuff. And I like going game by game, so I'll get that out of the way first. But as far as what I think happens in the series, it's a totally different matchup for Calgary than they had with Winnipeg. The Jets are a team with a bad defense. It's as simple as that. Winnipeg really only even made it into the even with the expansion due to the COVID, where they let all these teams in. They only made it because Hallebuck was in goal. Their defense sucked all year anyway. And then they got undisciplined in the series. It was a good matchup for Calgary. I think Dallas is a much tougher matchup. I don't put much stock into these exhibition games that Dallas played. There were 2 teams, maybe 3, that really cared about the round robins. The Flyers were one, the Golden Knights were another, and the Avalanche. That's pretty much it. The other teams were just, okay, let's just get warmed up. So I'm not putting much stock into those games. I think Dallas is a tougher matchup. I think that's a tough matchup for Calgary, and I would expect the Stars to survive this series.
Dave Koken with us, Andrew McGinnis. Both can be found at WagerTalk.com, and you're, of course, watching Puck Time. Welcome, everybody. One Time Sports, how are you, my friend? Matt, Matthew, John Thompson, Repulate Gaming, Benson, Illuminati's, guys, we cannot able. Nice win, man. We love having you with us. I can't thank you guys all enough every day for logging on and joining us. I love seeing your names and your interactions, so thanks so much. So there we go. Both Andrew and Dave lean on Dallas. I'm going to pass outright on this series. Let's get into the sexiest series of the lot. A team that has been salivating to play another team. Tampa Bay gets the matchup I think they probably would want. They're playing Columbus. They're minus 230. Columbus is plus 190. I'll just set it up like this. I think the first game is going to be very, very important. I think if Columbus can win that first game, I think they got a real shot at the series. I think you're going to have a very tight sphincter on the other side. With that said, I think Tampa Bay is going to come out flying. I can't take minus 230 on this series, but I think Tampa Bay is going to win the series in 6. Dave?
I don't think it's going to go that far.
Within 6.
The Blue Jackets are a great story because they've accomplished an awful lot in the regular season and now in this first round of the playoffs, despite the fact that they don't have a lot of talent on that team. Tortorella is a great coach. They got terrific goaltending. They do have some very solid positional guys. Werenski's a heck of a player, but they can't match up with this team. And I mean, to me, they drew the worst opponent. The only thing that the fly in the ointment is if Columbus happens to pull the upset in Game 1, and as you mentioned, Tampa's in mental trouble if that happens. But I think the Lightning come out flying in Game 1. It's in the price. I'd be really surprised if Columbus beats them, especially coming out of a really tough series. I mean, it was a thrilling, gritty series against the Maple Leafs. I think it's all advantage Tampa here, and they're just a clearly better team.
Andrew, obviously, Dave and I agree, and I say within 6. I mean, it would not blow my mind for a Tampa Bay sweep. This team has got revenge on their mind. Where are you going in this series?
This is one of those ones where I might take a look at, the exact result in the series, right. Looking at a 4-1 victory, for them in the series. And sometimes, guys, I hate using the word motivation, but I think it really does apply for the Tampa Bay Lightning. It couldn't set up as more of a better story for them to play this Columbus Blue Jackets team again. And I think that, without even, getting into the Leafs series, I just... You look at Tampa Bay and what they're bringing to the field right now. I think they're gonna score. They're gonna be a little bit more deep, and they're gonna be kind of a little bit more intense. I feel like if you look at it, Seth Jones, when he wasn't playing in the series against the Leafs, he was worried about maybe 1, 2, possibly 3 guys. This Tampa Bay Lightning team is going to throw 3 lines at you that can possibly score, plus defensemen that are jumping into the rush. I think it changed the game for them, and do I think that Columbus deserved to win that series against the Leafs? I think they did, but it wasn't as convincing as it looks, and I literally mean that. And I think you look at Tampa Bay, I think they're going to come in here and prove their speed is way, way too much. I mean, we saw what happened when the Maple Leafs had those 3 quick goals in that comeback victory. It's because they finally started firing shots on net. They moved the puck laterally. Tampa Bay is going to be doing that every single moment of the game, and also Tampa Bay is lethal. If you put them in, on the power play, it's going to be they're going to make you pay. So I think the same way as you guys. However, I wouldn't be shocked to see some unders early in this series. Tampa Bay, they're going to want to play smart hockey. They're not going to want to just try and run the score up. When they get a lead, they're going to protect it just like Columbus would. I'm not saying they're going to try and take Columbus's style, but they're going to realize that they don't need to, continue to run that score up. They're going to try and play smart hockey. We know what happened last year when they started to, play pond hockey when they were up 3 goals. They're going to blow the game. Yeah. So I think that we could see some unders early in this series.
No, I like that.
And let's not forget how great Vasilevsky is as well.
I love that call, Andrew. And I think you can literally look at. I'll tell you, I don't see one game where Columbus puts up more than 2 goals. I think we're going to see a lot of 3-1, 4-1 hockey games. So there you go, everybody. We all think Tampa Bay in this series. I got no problem with you guys betting a sweep, betting 5, betting 6. And Dave Koken leans on Tampa Bay as well. Vegas Golden Knights against Chicago. Wow.
The worst possible matchup for the Blackhawks. But good job by them getting through against Edmonton, which was actually a very good matchup for them because the Oilers are willing to do the same things the Blackhawks did offensively, and that it just turned into a shooting match. Golden Knights are too strong positionally. They're a more physical team. I think this is going to be an easy series for the Golden Knights. I actually be. I think Blackhawks maybe steal a game someplace, but if this goes more than 5, I'll be really surprised.
Yeah, no, and I actually was just going to say that I would bet the Vegas Golden Knights in 5. Andrew, where are you going here?
I would look the same way as well. I mean, I haven't sent out any playoff predictions and all that kind of stuff, and there's still more to read and learn. But this is, like Dave said, this is just a horrible matchup for them. I think that one thing we have to take into account is the fact that I'll speak for myself. I thought the Edmonton Oilers would get production from a lot more guys than just 2 people. And we didn't see it. I mean, it's just so frustrating because I had them as a serious wager. And, when you've got 2 guys and one guy's the best player in the world, one guy's a Hart Trophy candidate, both of them run the league pretty much when they're out there. But when you have nobody else around you doing anything, it's really, really hard to be a successful hockey team, and that's just painful to see. I mean, Connor McDavid had as many points as you'd expect him to have, and if you would have told me he had a hat trick in this game and he had 2 points in this game, I probably would have told you that they won the series. But if you look, same thing I said in another series. If you look at it, I think Vegas, line for line, I saw him play this year, just has way too much to offer. There's far too many guys, and you look back to when they made that run for the Cup. I mean, it's because they were getting goals from people that nobody really expected to score. And now they don't just have Fleury. They also have Robin Lehner, a goalie that is just, he could be a starting goalie on a lot of teams. So I think goaltending is great. That's the advantage. But pace of play, I think we can talk about pace of play because Chicago, I mean, we had Jonathan Toews playing like he was 21 years old again. Patrick Kane looking great. Then we have Kubalik and DeBrincat. Chicago played their best hockey I've seen them play in a year, 2 years maybe. So we have to give them some credit when it comes to that. I think from a betting standpoint, until the odds makers adjust, we have to, every one of us, lock and load on these first period over 1.5. These teams are going to go crazy. These teams were actually both in the top 5 rankings for over 1.5 goals in the first period in the league, and I think overs as well in the series. So despite the great goaltending from Vegas, from what I believe anyway, I'm not really buying it on the other side there with the Blackhawks still, because if we remember, I mean, Chicago, they scored, they outfought the Oilers, but let's face it, they let in some bad goals. I mean, their defense is still not that great. It's going to get exposed against Vegas. So I think over is the way to go in this series. And looking at a lot of these series, this will probably be the only one that I can really definitively say bet the over.
I agree 100%. And again, we all find ourselves agreeing Vegas Golden Knights in this series. I want to welcome Juan Tafoya. Nice to have you, my friend. Thanks for the kind words. Megan, nice to see you. Anthony Fida, Matthew Helms, some idiot soccer predictions and tips from Carmine Bianco. And
who's that guy?
I don't know, man. And Toma 8888. Yeah, I'm with you, dude. The Leafs want to make me vomit, or as I say, vomote. Nice to see you, Tyler. Cashed on the alt puck line last night with Columbus. Good job, man. Way to go. Boston, Carolina. Here's maybe where we diverge. I think Carolina's the play here, guys. Look, Boston looked bad in the round robin, and I get it. This is a veteran team. They probably didn't care that much about their seedings. I mean, there's no home ice advantage here. But I just think this Carolina team matches up really well against Boston. They're gritty. There's leadership on this team. They find ways to win. They find ways to get it done. They're like a working man's poor version of Boston, if you will. But I think both teams are maybe from a last few and next few years perspective heading in the opposite direction. I like Carolina here at plus 125. I think this is likely going to go 7 games. Andrew?
I honestly haven't really made my decision up on this series, Prez. Right now, I'm leaning towards the Boston Bruins. I'm gonna have to watch back some highlights and look at what their games were like in the seeding and read up on it. But I think gut instinct is to say the Bruins and not buy into those seeding games and those performances because something fishy. We talk about it as handicappers. Sometimes we say something's fishy about this line. Something's fishy about the way that team played in the seeding. I mean, that's not the Boston Bruins team we know. We had some players that were apparently deemed to be unfit or weren't playing big minutes. If we look at it, Father Time, the clock is ticking on some of these players like Bergeron, Chara, Rask even. This is actually a big year for them, I think. This is kind of a do or die year for them to make one last push here. So, let's look at the guys like Sebastian Aho and younger guys like that on Carolina. They've got some veteran leadership, like you said, but, can they show up to the big dance? Can some of these younger guys continue their success they had against the Rangers? The Rangers clearly weren't ready. They had goaltending question marks every single night. We didn't know who was going to be between the pipes. It'll be an interesting series. However, I will say, if you like the Bruins, based off Carolina's play in the first round, you're going to get a way better price with them.
Yeah, well, and based on Boston's play too, don't forget, Andrew. Dave Koken, nothing wrong with old guys. Wise and experienced, as they say. Can they get it done?
Yeah, on paper. You look back in last year, the Bruins obviously didn't have a problem with Carolina. But Hurricanes are very well coached, and the Bruins can't just flip the button switch on. I would be worried about a team that acted like they can just flip the switch on once the real games begin. They were just terrible in the round robin. And I think there's some reason for concern there. To me, this is a series where you got to watch one game and try and get a gauge on how they match up with one another. But I think Carolina has a real shot in this series.
They're playing tomorrow. Carolina's a dog, and I find that interesting because what you're saying is right, and we saw it. We've seen it with Boston time in and time out. They tend to lose that first game as they kind of warm up, if you will. So watch.
Carmine had a good point here in the chat box. Said the Rangers didn't have a physical game like the Bruins do. I think that's actually a really important thing to mention with this series. Which team will be the most disciplined and which team will be the most aggressive? Because if you look at it so far in the playoffs, a lot of teams that have been successful, it hasn't really been from highlight reel goals. It's been from scoring goals 2-3 feet away from the net. I think that'll be really the decider. Which team is the most physical.
You got it, brother. Okay, Colorado and Arizona. A nice win by Arizona. A gritty win against Nashville. Nashville played a perfect game against them in game 2. And we really, Carmen and I were talking and we thought, I think Nashville might have their number. But Arizona bounced back. And good for them. This is a hard luck team that I'd love to see do well. With that said, I think they're playing the best team in hockey. Minus 275 for Colorado. Man, I don't see how this goes 6 games. I think Colorado in 5, maybe 4. Dave?
I think the Predators turned out to be the Maple Leafs with a southern accent.
They don't have a southern accent. They're all from Toronto, just like every other player in the world.
It was a joke because they're in Tennessee.
I know, I got that, but I'm just a little cranky.
Yeah, well, that's the hazards of being a fan. I think this series is going to be tougher than many people think it'll be. I think Colorado's going to win, but boy, I wouldn't lay it 275. I think Coyotes match up. Coyotes can match up with almost anybody because of the style of hockey they play, and they're going to be in these games, I would suspect. Also, like the fact that from Colorado's standpoint, they did take the round robin seriously. I think that'll get them sharper earlier than perhaps some teams who kind of just goofed their way through these games. But I think Arizona's going to give them a series. I don't think this will be a cinch. I think the Avalanche will win it, but I would not lay that price. And if you're looking for an upset, this might be it. Part of the reason for I'm saying that is, I go through this every year where the public really gets behind one team, and that's the team to beat. And this year it's the Colorado Avalanche. Everybody saw all the analysts on TV, the Avalanche. Team's got a lot of pressure on them. And the experts on TV get it wrong every year, basically. They never.
They all picked Pittsburgh. That's why.
They never picked the Cup winner. It's kind of like
you picked
the Golf
Pittsburgh
Channel.
too, Andrew.
I watched was watching the Golf Channel previews going into the PGA this weekend, and one of my outrights was Brooks Koepka, and I knew I was dead going into the tournament because on Thursday morning they were all raving about Koepka. These are the experts, okay? The experts are all. I mean, Colorado is the pick right now among the experts. Watch out.
Okay, well, there you go. Andrew McGinnis.
I don't usually like seeing quotes like this, but it really meant a lot to me seeing, Landeskog saying, he pretty much said, this is the most well-rounded group I've ever been a part of at any, league or team or national team or whatever. He said he's never seen as many players that had a certain role. You look at a guy like Nazem Kadri and then third liner center JT Compher. I think those two guys are actually the sleeper players of this series because everyone's going to be looking at Mikko Rantanen. Everyone's going to be looking at Nathan McKinnon. That's where the headline is going to be. I'm going to be looking at the Burakovsky, Compher, and Donskoy line to really make the difference. And that's what really separates them from a lot of teams is that they will hurt you where you don't expect them to hurt you, honestly. And that's what the biggest key for them is. So I love Dave's rant there. It's very true. It happens a lot with different teams, but I think that this is the most well-rounded team in the league right now. The question is, we've seen great goaltending from both Francouz and Grubauer. It's a question of can we see it again? I mean, Grubauer was lights out last year in the playoffs. He did his part. And then we got to look at guys like Cale Makar, Calder Trophy candidate.
Right, tremendous.
Ryan Graves is great as well. It's just that's the youth factor, right? And that's the youth factor I always take into account and say maybe they're not ready. They're defensemen as well. We'll see if they can hold them off. But I also liked how, the quotes coming out of the coaching staff from Colorado. They said that they know that there's, they know it's not going to be easy. And they know the style of hockey that Arizona plays. And the thing about Arizona that I like is that I always like sleeper teams. I bet you a lot of the average person couldn't really name like a couple, even like the top scorer on that team this year. And if you look at it, that's what's really helped them versus the Predators. A lot of teams, they don't need to have a top scorer. They need to have a couple guys.
I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, but again, not to bring up the Leafs, but yeah, I agree, dude. I mean, you look at St. Louis winning the Cup last year, name their three best scorers. You look at Columbus beating the Leafs yesterday. You look at the Habs beating Pittsburgh.
Well, look, this is a league where we've seen this enough over the years. It's the team. It's not the best team. It's the team that gets hot at the right time. It's not like the NBA where the best teams are going to end up playing each other. They're just because the talent level's there and it's a 5-man game. The NHL, it's just the NHL is different from any other league because it is the one league where the best teams don't necessarily get to the finals. There's just so many different factors that come in the NHL. And the one that, listen, if Darcy Kemper gets on one of his roles, anything can happen in this series. I know on paper, Colorado is absolutely supposed to win this series on paper, but it's just, we see this every year where it doesn't always go according to Hoyle. And all you got to do is look back at last year because Tampa Bay was clearly the best team in the league going in. And I'll argue the Golden Knights, if it's not for just an incredibly bad call against San Jose, how far do they go in the playoffs? You never know. The NHL is. That's why it's the best playoff there is, because you really don't know what's going to happen, and something unexpected happens every year.
Getting hot is one thing, but I also think just playoff hockey is different than regular season hockey.
It is.
It's just literally, it's a whole new sport.
Yeah, but no, and I agree, Dave. I mean, it's why it's so much more fun than the NBA from my perspective. John Thompson, $20 donation. We can't thank you enough, man. That shit means so much to me. I don't. I've said this a few times on some of my shows. I mean, this stuff means so much to me. You go and you sit down at a blackjack table. You lose $200 in half an hour, and 30 of those $200 is in the dealer's pocket as a tip. Thank you so much, John Thompson. Philadelphia, Montreal. I think Montreal got themselves a nice matchup here. I mean, these are two gritty teams. I think we're going to see a very low scoring series, and again in these low scoring series, anybody can score that winning goal. Philly is minus 225. I can't touch that. I'm outright passing. Dave?
I agree completely. And the Flyers now go into a different role because at no point in this season has this team had any pressure on them. They've been the youthful Flyers, a team that's going to be really good down the road with all their young talent. But, right now they're just kind of a good story. And they really didn't have the pressure on them in these round robin games. The other teams didn't care about it, quite frankly. They did go out and win them. Got to give them full credit for that. But now they have the pressure of being a substantial favorite over a Montreal team that, kind of isn't supposed to be here. So I think the Flyers could be a little vulnerable early. And if they lose game one of this series, then they've got a problem moving forward because the Canadiens at that point are going to be on a free roll like you wouldn't believe. So I think the Flyers better put their foot down quickly in game one and use the physical advantages they have and get ahead 1-0. I think if they get ahead, it should be a fairly easy series. I think they're just too good for Montreal, but this first game is going to be huge.
I think that's a great point, Dave, and we've seen the Flyers play just outstanding hockey.
They look good.
And from all sides, and here you go again, who do the Flyers remind you of? Well, the St. Louis Blues with one really good goal scorer. This is not a team that's, sitting with Sidney or Connor or Austin or, Ovechkin, etc., etc. This is a team, Claude Giroux, JVR, Corey Hart and net, Carey Hart and net. I'm thinking Corey Hart because Dave's wearing his sunglasses at night.
I'll tell you something. The Flyers have a legit chance to win the whole thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, I wish I had a future ticket on it. They've got a real shot.
I agree, and they match up well against teams like Washington too. So I'm with and Tampa Bay. So I am with you 100%, Dave. I think that the Flyers can win it all. Andrew McGinnis, I know you're obviously cheering for the Habs now that they've lost out on a French-Canadian first rounder. It's balls to the wall, win it or they screwed up. Where are you going?
Yeah, I think if you like Philadelphia, first of all, I would just hold off and bet either the series games or just wait if there's any chance that Montreal comes out in the first game and wins it. You're going to get a hell of a lot better of a price. I know Carmine talked about that on the shows last week with a few teams and getting that value. And, just to make sure there's no bias in any of my statements, I'll start by saying I think Montreal deserved to win the series. Don't get me wrong, but Pittsburgh did not play well. I mean,
Andrew, Pittsburgh hasn't played well in 3 years. They've won one playoff game in 3 years.
100%. But guess who the only person that's out there that actually gives a shit is Sidney Crosby. I think Evgeny Malkin, I'm not even joking, guys, ever since he signed his contract has checked out. I don't know what it is. Since he signed his contract,
he's the most overrated player. He's the most overrated player in hockey. Pittsburgh is a badly built team. They need to blow that whole team up. They might want to decide to blow some of it up with the Leafs because the Leafs do need to do the same. But Andrew, let's focus here.
I'm just saying that I believe that Philadelphia actually has a team that's built, like you guys said, to be very well-rounded. So I think that it's going to be about, number one, physicality. I think that the Philadelphia Flyers are built tough. They're strong. But the thing is, their strong players are also some of their goal scorers. Look at Couturier. I mean, this is a guy that's pretty strongly, pretty built, but can also score. If Voracek, I'm not sure what his status is. If he gets healthy, he's another big threat. Konechny as well. He's someone that can be dangerous, but he's also a bigger guy. That's going to be an issue. That's going to be a big problem for the Montreal Canadiens. The Montreal Canadiens showed their best performance down the middle at the center position than we've seen in a very long time. Deneau, Suzuki, and Kotkaniemi played better than we've ever seen them play.
Suzuki and Kotkaniemi are terrific young talents. They
Suzuki,
really are.
Look at the minutes he played, Dave. I mean, for someone that's as young as him in a playoff game, taking faceoffs against Sidney Crosby. The other thing I will say about this series is Carter Hart's played in big games. He's played for Team Canada at the national level. He's played in big games for this Philadelphia Flyers team. He has not played in big games like Carey Price. And if we look at it, I always hate when people say that we're carried by Carey Price, but he's obviously our MVP, and we are carried by him a lot, no pun intended. But he actually hasn't won that many playoff series with the Canadiens, because if you look at it, every time that we've actually made the playoffs or the last push that we had to the conference finals, Chris Kreider ran Carey Price and took him out for the series. And I believe it happened back-to-back years where somebody injured Price in the playoffs. This is going to be Price's first real run with the Canadiens. He has more experience than Carter Hart. He looked rock solid. Anything he can see, he'll stop. So it's going to be about limiting the shots for the Flyers. But I think overall, the Flyers are definitely the better team, more well-rounded, especially if their deep pairings can stay in their end and not get caught flat-footed. It's going to be tough. But I look forward. My last point I'll say, I look forward to after Game 1, looking at the power play stats. Montreal early in the series took some bad penalties. They slowed it down a little bit, and Philadelphia can be known to get involved in that type of stuff as well. So I think that'll be huge. The team that's the most disciplined will probably come out on top.
Guys, everybody, thank you for watching Puck Time. Make sure to check out First Pitch with these two guys at 2 p.m. Eastern, and then our NBA show at 3 p.m. Eastern. We got lots of content all week long over at WagerTalk TV, our sports channel on YouTube. Nice to see you, Tyler. Great G8 pass. South Star. Love having you guys with us. I'll bottom line the next one. Here's the upset, boys. I like Vancouver at plus 180. Andrew?
I can't argue it. I like Vancouver as well. I think they're going to be really strong. If anything, I think it's going to go deep.
Agreed.
You look at St. Louis. You look at the expressions that you've said and the way that you've talked about St. Louis during this video, not knowing kind of who their players were. Now we do, and they were carried by Binnington over a lot of their games, and nobody wants to say it. Tarasenko showed up when he felt like it. Ryan O'Reilly, he was kind of slept on in the league until they won the cup, and now everybody knows who he is. So it's going to be a whole new ball game. The only thing is they have massive defensemen. If the Canucks don't play like pansies and crash the net hard and score goals like that, I think they'll actually come out on top there. That's a live dog.
I'll give you the one thing that would really worry me though if you're the Canucks. Markstrom was not good in the Minnesota series. Not good at all. Something's going on with him on the short side. He gave up 3 short side goals to Minnesota in the last game. You cannot have weakness in goal in the playoffs. And I thought they survived Markstrom I know he made some spectacular saves, but he let in some really bad goals in that series. And you just can't do that in the playoffs. So this is something you're going to have to keep an eye on with Vancouver, is whether Markstrom gets his act together or whether he is a liability in this series. I got to tell you, the reason that series went as far as it did was Markstrom. Otherwise, Vancouver gets him out of there pretty easily. And that, to me, is a major concern for the Canucks in this series.
I just got alerted from the producer I'm having mic issues.
You sound fine to me.
And I don't know what he's talking about. Hit the top of the mic quick. Oh, hit the top. Okay. Yeah, sounds like it's coming through. Dave, you hear that?
I hear you loud and clear.
There you go. Okay, guys. Last game, Washington, New York Islanders. Minus 150 for the Capitals. I like the Islanders here. I don't think I like them as much as I like Vancouver. That's my upset special. But I like the Islanders, man. This team is just built for the playoffs. Dave, I'll go to you first.
Well, you kind of just said it. And now Barry Trotz goes against his former team, which is going to be fun. And I think the Capitals are a good team, but I don't think they're markedly better than the Islanders, to tell you the truth. A lot of that has to do with the style the Islanders play, which just keeps them in games. I think this is a tough series. To me, this is I won't call it a coin flip. I give Washington a slight edge, but it's not much of an edge. And if there's one where I can see jumping on the dog, I can't argue against the Islanders.
SoCal resellers. We wish Prez was having mic issues. Me too, dude. I'll just go upstairs and sit at the pool. Andrew, what do you like in this series?
I like the Islanders as well. I had that as my best bet with the clients. I had the Islanders to win their series in the first round or in the qualifying. And now looking at this one, Washington hasn't really looked right since they won the cup. The urgency hasn't really seemed to be there, and that might not be fair to say, but we're gonna find it. We're gonna find out here. Samsonov is injured, John Carlson is injured, and Lars Eller is injured. Samsonov is out, Carlson's day to day, and Eller is day to day. That means that Braden Holtby is the starting goalie for the Washington Capitals. He's actually someone that I was, very, very down on. I liked Samsonov way better than I liked Holtby, and Holtby looked okay in the seeding games, but he's not someone I'm going to rely on in this series. You look at this Islanders team; they're going to score in different ways against the Washington Capitals, and I have a couple different guys that will do it. If you look at this Washington Capitals team, they're heavily relied on number 8 and number 19, I'd say, to get the job done, and I don't really see that coming. So. That's why I think they're a better regular season team. Once the playoffs kick in, they need to have depth. They need to have lines that they can roll, and it can't be just Ovechkin going out there getting teed up at the hash mark. He's getting old. He's not willing to get in those dirty areas, and I think the Islanders are more than willing to do what it takes to win the game, and we're getting a pretty good price here.
Andrew McGinnis, Dave Koken, and myself. This is Puck Time, tomorrow's show. Dave Koken and Andrew, and I don't even remember. What's the schedule, boys? Tomorrow? Buster. Carm, Buster, and Andrew tomorrow. Make sure to tune in, 11 o'clock. Also, guys, we're about 250 people away from 50,000 YouTube subscribers. Please subscribe to our channel. We want to get over 50,000 this week. Tomorrow's show does not include Andrew. It's Buster, Carm, and Koken. Wednesday is Buster, Andrew, and Carm, and then Carm, Koken, and Andrew for Thursday and Friday. Been a real pleasure, guys. Real quick, Dave, I know you don't do any big-time future bets, but Andrew, are you betting anything to win the Stanley Cup? And any other bets that are in the futures perspective?
I mean, part of me wants to pull the Johnny Detroit with the Tigers and take the Habs here, but just to piss everybody off. But I most likely will not do that. I would say if you're going to look at a future, maybe take a look at a team. I said it a while ago. Take a look at the Canucks. They're a dark horse, and if they get past the Blues, all of a sudden you're having way better odds than anybody else in this world is going to get. But just like Carmine, I like the Islanders to go deep here in the Eastern Conference, and I'm going to stand with that.
There we go, boys. I love you all. I can't thank you enough. We've had a couple of people request Jeff Allen join us. Okay, give him a call. Tell him to join us.
Who?
Jeff Allen. I'm just joking around. Some guy is like, we need Jeff Allen in here. I'm like, is he still in jail? Do you even know? No, he's out.
No, I think Jeff passed away.
Oh, he passed away.
I think so. Yeah.
There will
Rest
be
in
no
peace.
Jeff Allen. Anyway, thank you, boys. Dave, thanks for doing this. Andrew, you as well. We'll see you tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, for another edition of Puck Time. And everybody, I hope you guys have a wonderful, incredible night. And if you have nothing to do tonight, check out Fear City, I think it's called. I just started it on Netflix. It's the story of how New York tried to fix their mafia problem in the 1970s. It's 3 episodes long. I'm only about 30 minutes in, and it looks absolutely spectacular. So check that out.
And I do have my first ever NBA 5% play since the return of the league. So that's up for grabs at WagerTalk.com.
Okay, there you go. Check that out, everybody. Be well, and thank you for watching this edition of Puck Time.